On today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth, we're talking about steps to plan for every aspect of retirement, and we've got a very interesting article entitled Navigating the Paradox of Retirement. All that and more on today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome into Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management, over 42 years combined experience between these two, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their retirement. They are fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. Always interesting to get into this show. In Seattle, it's, again, always about retirement, and we're going to give you an opportunity to claim an appointment with Elevated Financial Management, and they are cost-free. That means complimentary. That means no pressure. You can really kick the tires. Again, you'll be able to claim one of those appointments during the course of this show. So, guys, welcome in. First and foremost, how was your week?
It's almost baseball season. I know Casey and
we're ready.
Yeah, we're getting pretty excited. Well, you know, the Mariners are, well, let's just say they're the Mariners, but we love them.
No, they're awesome. They're awesome.
And so we're really looking forward to that getting off here in a few weeks. Go from, Cactus League to the real thing. So we're looking forward to that. There's so many great restaurants that we love here in Seattle. Casey and I both love Aqua down on the waterfront, and there's so many great restaurants to...
Din Tai Fung?
Yeah, Din Tai Fung. We pretty much live at that place if you love dim sum and dumplings. But we're going to talk about some things today that I think everybody's really going to enjoy. And one of the things that I thought we would start with is how important is it to get organized? And I think Casey knows. Mark, why are you talking about this? Because I look at your garage and... your home office and think, you need to get organized. And that's why I thought we could start with this. Why do you think, Casey, is it important for us to get organized a little bit?
Well, I mean, you got to have a plan, right? That's really what it boils down to. If you're not organized, you can't have a plan. And so you've got to make sure that as you're moving towards retirement, you empty that financial junk drawer, right? That's really important. So many people have investments that they kind of don't know they have, right? We see that a lot. We call them UFOs in somebody's retirement plan, unidentified financial objects, right? So people have all these things that they really don't know about. And so it's important to clear that out, get organized. What's the plan? What are we going to do in retirement? And it's something that really just can't be overlooked. And we've got to have a budget, right? That's one of the biggest things when it comes to getting organized, is having a budget and being very clear and intentional with what we're doing with our money.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny you mentioned budget, because it needs to be adjusted, right? It needs to be fluid. We know our clients are going through different phases in retirement, and I like, to think about, maybe you commute. I commuted from Federal Way to Bellevue for 23 years. I don't do that commute anymore, but if your commute has really lessened, you're going to spend a lot less on gas. Are we going to make an adjustment inside our budget? Put more in the fun bucket instead of the just work bucket, right? The life bucket. So again, we need to be willing to make changes to our budgets and our plan as needed.
I think one of the biggest things, Mark, right, is factoring in tax planning considerations, right? That's really a big piece of the puzzle. We talk about taxes a lot.
Yep.
That's something that can blindside people in retirement. And so we've got to make sure that we're understanding how taxes are going to impact us and really what the impact they're going to have on retirement, right? That's the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, we've got to be willing to know when and how we're going to pull different chunks of money out of different buckets at different times, right? That's why we want to, do we have any tax-free money? What about our Roth money? How long do I want to wait till I begin to draw out of my Roth account? See, these are things that a lot of people have no idea about. The tax-free bucket is the bucket that's absolutely probably the one that should have the most money in it, but it has the least for most clients, right? And we want to help people to establish more tax-free income if possible, but they need to start it earlier on. So keep thinking about that.
Elevate Your Wealth, you're tuned to it. Our hosts are Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We're getting into, again, steps that you can take to kind of look at every aspect of retirement planning. And the first one, so important. I mean, just get organized. A lot of us have that quote unquote junk drawer where everything is located. Make sure you've got everything in order, and working with fiduciaries, having a partner in this process, this journey to retirement and through retirement, it relieves a lot of stress. There are a lot of you out there that are sitting on portfolios. They just talked about, again, tax planning considerations. So many of us are sitting on tax-deferred accounts, the 401k that's out there. I mean, think about it, folks. You've been working your entire life, and you think you've got $1 million saved in that 401k, but it's not really $1 million because you're going to owe Uncle Sam. So make sure you're planning for that as well. And the other thing I noticed, too, is because we're in two separate areas, so I get to see on camera, I get to see my guys. You guys have new studios. This is a new location for you. So, yeah, talk about that. I mean, you guys have really worked hard to get to this point, and boy, swanky. I like it.
Yeah, it's turned out really nice. We're very proud of it, very excited about it. It is a big upgrade from our previous office, right, Mark? Mm-hmm. It's our previous office. It was nice. It was a little too small for what we needed, and this is a lot more centrally located, and that really had a big driving factor for us to make the decision to be in this office here. Is Morgan, for us it really is about the client, right?
Yes.
And so with our new location here in Renton, we've been here for a few months. That really puts us more centrally located, right? We were in Federal Way previously, but it puts us more centrally located, easy to access. We're right off I-5, 405, 167, so we're easy to get to. And it's a nice upgrade in terms of office space as well, right, Mark?
Yeah, in fact, I think one of the things that is a showcase in our office is our radio room and our TV room here. We have a beautiful glass wall. Clients are commenting on this. We were waiting for furniture, which Casey's done a nice job of getting that all set up and ready to go. But every client pretty much walks by and is just really impressed with the lighting that we have in here, our whole setup. So we love the fact that we can talk about these type of things on the radio with our listeners, but more importantly, they can come in and meet us face to face and see how this actually works and know that it's not, what's going on sometimes in a radio show. People are wondering, well, where are they doing it at? And, it's nice to have this set up now.
I was going to say, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say too that, Mark and I can say I'm not the interior designer in my relationship, and I don't think Mark is in his. Yeah. And so for the two of us to kind of come together and figure out how we're going to design and paint, and it took months to get this office taken care of with the tenant improvements that we did and moving walls and restructuring and all that kind of stuff. And we put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's something, like you said, Morgan, we're very proud of it.
Sure.
And ultimately, we've just worked really hard to make it something that's welcoming and friendly for the clients, right?
Well,
that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, with TV and radio, I mean, you want to get the message out, the importance of planning, and again, finding the right collaboration for people out there. Who are you going to work with? Are you out there trying to do it yourself when you really don't have to? I mean, there are some do-it-yourselfers out there, and we applaud you, but there are so many things to consider. I often say I's dotted, T's crossed, and working with a kind of a retirement coach or a team that's going to walk with you down this path. I mean, that alleviates so much pressure on yourself because they've seen so many different situations that will pop up. And look, they're the advisor, but you're going to end up being the final decider. I mean, we say that quite often. It's not like it's not like Casey and Mark sit down and force feed you what they think. It's a conversation. You guys pride yourself on the fact that, it is a collaboration.
It really is, yeah. And, you just said something, Morgan. I want to come back to the collaboration piece. This will tie it in well. You said something that just kind of hit me. We do have some DIY folks out there, and we live in an age of DIY, right? I mean, I think of myself as a DIY guy around the house and all those kinds of things, right? And Mark is too. So we enjoy those type of projects. And when it comes to finances, some folks think of themselves in that way, and that's great, right? If that's working for them and they're happy with that, that's good. At the same time, what we find is that with the introduction of the 401k, moving away from pensions, everybody has been forced to be DIY, right? Everybody is forced into making their own choices when it comes to their 401k and figuring out what those options are inside the plan. And that's a challenge. Most people are not really looking to do that. They just really don't have the choice. And so we got to be careful and make sure that we are finding the right help. And again, it's about collaboration and finding the folks that are going to help work with you. We always say it this way: we want to come alongside you and help you figure out what's going to work.
I tell you, we're going over, again, some important steps to plan for every aspect of retirement. Now we want to give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. We have a certain number of spots. We're going to open those up right now. Mark, what do you got?
Yep. So if you're listening to the show today and you've saved at least $250,000 or more, please pick up the phone and give us a call. What we'd like to do is just have a conversation. You're going to leave your checkbook at home, just like we've been talking about. Come in and let us look at your situation when it comes to your income. Is it going to be guaranteed for your lifetime? Do you have a pension? What about Social Security? How do you maximize that? That's a big one that can cause a lot of confusion. Then you're going to have to make decisions when it comes to Medicare and Social Security. So please let our team of certified financial planners help you put together a plan that'll last your retirement life.
This is your opportunity. These are complimentary. Again, claim an appointment right now, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. When we return, we'll have more conversation in and around the steps to plan for every aspect of retirement. You're listening to Elevate Your Wealth. Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. It's a great resource website. All letters, EFMNW.com. Again, EFMNW.com. TV show links, and they've got our radio show and podcast forum for you there. So again, a lot of information, contact information if you have any questions about your retirement scenario. All right. 42 years combined experience between these two, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their retirement. They are certified financial fiduciaries. Of course, Mark and Casey, our hosts. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We're hitting steps to plan for every aspect of retirement already discussed today. Just getting organized, getting on the same page, knowing where things are, and then factor in what are the tax implications on these retirement accounts and your retirement plan as you move towards your retirement date. This next one, fellas, understanding Medicare, filing, the choices. You're approaching age 65. You got to dial that in.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, Morgan, because right now there's estimate between 10 and 12,000 people every day that are retiring, that are hitting 65. And understanding what choices they have can be daunting, right? That's a lot of people turning 65. I know I turned 65 a couple years ago, so I've been on Medicare for a couple years. And there are a lot of choices out there. You've got A, B, C, and D. What does that mean? Well, Part A of Medicare is your hospital part. Part B is your doctors. That's the part we have to pay a premium for this year, a little over $174 a month.
For a second there, I thought you were going to break into the alphabet. You're going to sing it to us.
Exactly. Well, and if you go to Medicare Supplement, then you can add G's and F's.
There you go.
All the other letters, right? So what do you do? See, that's the question, right? What choices? Then there's C. That's Medicare Advantage plans. And then, of course, D, some are familiar with the prescription plan. So there's a lot of choices. We have a wonderful team here at Elevated that will help you do that. I'm pretty good. I did it for probably 12, 15 years of my career. I can help answer a lot of these questions too, but you want to get a good handle on it so that you don't make a mistake that you're going to regret. That's the problem with maybe not talking to someone that might know quite a bit about it.
Right, and it is complicated, right? It is. I mean, there's 4 parts to it, like you said, and each thing covers something that the other doesn't. And then when you add Med Advantage and Med Supplemental to it, Well, now you've got all these other choices to make, right? And how much does it cost me out of pocket versus when I go in, and all these kinds of things. And, I'd like to share this story. I think this is really cool. We've got a client, and he's struggles with some different health things, right?
Yep.
And so he actually came in for his consult with our in-house Medicare specialist, and he brought a list of his prescriptions. I thought this was really cool, Morgan. He brought a list of his prescriptions and the different things that he's dealing with and that. And she was able to sit down with him and figure out the exact best plan, which was going to lower his monthly cost. And there was a few prescriptions that he needed that weren't covered under that particular coverage umbrella that he was selecting. So she helped him figure out the places he could get those at the best price and laid everything out for him. And I just think that's so cool that we're able to help folks in that way, because it is, for some people, it's pretty simple, right? Maybe they don't have medications and things of that nature, so it makes that decision pretty easy. Sure. But for some, that's not the case. It is much more complicated. And how that factors into your plan is really important, because healthcare is not cheap, right? It is expensive. And so we've got to figure that out to make sure that our income in retirement is going to support those medical things that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I want to add something to that too, because when you have to choose between a Meds supplement plan and a Med Advantage plan, a lot of people, including myself, I have a Med Advantage plan. But here's the downside. If you do not take a Medicare supplement plan at the time of when you sign up, your initial enrollment period, we call it, when they have to take you in all your problems, there's no underwriting. Mm-hmm. The problem is, if we go a Med Advantage plan and then we decide, you know what, I kind of wish I'd have gone the other way and gone Med Sup, that can be a real downside, because then you have to go through medical underwriting, and you can actually be turned down and may not be able to go back and get a Med Sup. So it is something everybody needs to be well aware of the rules, because it can really mess us up if we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important to have clarity. And there's so many things that are going to go into your retirement plan. And make sure you have one. Make sure it's considering, your situation. We often talk about just the fact that you can customize your plan to you. Working, again, with someone like a fiduciary that's going to have your best interest right up front, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins, the team at Elevated Financial Management, it gives you the confidence as you're moving towards your retirement date. And I tell you, the Medicare thing is a big deal. And there are a lot of steps to take. There are a lot of things to consider. Love the fact that you were able to kind of take a look at all these different medications with this client and kind of help them navigate, because I can see it being incredibly overwhelming to so many people out there. And it's okay. I mean, you're not on it alone. I mean, this is not an island where it's just you. There are other people out there that are just as confused, just as frustrated. Why not work with someone that can help you kind of navigate this? Yeah. All right. So, again, going back to kind of what we've hit already, you want to make sure that you're taking these steps. You want to plan for every aspect of retirement. We've talked about getting organized. We've talked about the tax side of this, being prepared for that, and Medicare. Now, Social Security, guys, I hear maximize, I hear optimize. Social Security is going to be a part of everybody's retirement out there, but walk us through this. This is another one you need to check off your list.
Yeah, it really is situational, right? We call it situational Social Security because it does affect everybody's circumstance differently, and what each person needs is different. And there's a lot of different strategies to claiming your Social Security. The timing of it is one of the biggest pieces, right, to make sure that you get the timing correct for when you're going to claim your benefit. And what we see, this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see folks make, is they want to start Social Security early at 62, right? Yep. They go, man, I can get it. I'm going to get it now.
I want the money.
Yeah, I want it now.
I paid in. Right? I want it.
Exactly, right. And so, you know what? In some circumstances, that is the right choice. We won't say that that's never the right choice. But commonly, we even see that with people that are healthy and are still working. And so if you're going to claim Social Security while you're still working, you have to deal with the earned income test. Yeah. What's the limit for this year, Mark? Do you remember?
It's $22,000. I want to say $340.
Okay, so $23,000.
$22,000.
So that means that for every $2 you make over $22,000 or $23,000, I don't remember the number exactly for this
22.
year, but for every $2 you make over that amount, you have to pay $1 back of your Social Security. So if you're still working and gainfully employed in our area, I think most people are making more than $22,000 $100,000 in our area. If you're not, I'm not sure how you're living in our area. But that really would be a bad idea to claim your Social Security early, because it is going to have a negative impact. And so, of course, you still deal with the reduction in overall benefits from Social Security. So there's the other piece of this. If you're married, right, how are spousal benefits going to be affected? And how does that factor into the overall plan? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? We can zoom in on Social Security as one piece, and a lot of times folks do that. But how does our decision in Social Security affect the rest of our retirement plan? That's really key, right?
In fact, you mentioned the earned income test, but there's also a permanent reduction of up to 25% of your money forever. And so the thing that I have a great article from somebody that I put a lot of credence in, knows a lot about Social Security planning. And the title of the article is "Don't Let Social Security Dupe Your Clients into Claiming Early." And one of the biggest reasons is that the average life expectancy, it's going to cost them close to $182,000, dollars in total income because they went early.
It's an expensive mistake.
Yeah, it is a big time expensive mistake. And you don't want to make these choices just on a whim or thinking you understand, or Medicare is going to be going away. How many times have we heard that?
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to happen. Now, are some big changes coming? And one of the big ones that I believe will happen in about 10 years is we're going to see a reduction of 20 to 25% benefit. Do you have a plan then to replace that income? You can imagine if we were living on $2,000 a month, and now we're reduced to $1,500, and we didn't have a way to take care of that. So this is why this type of planning is so critical.
And then, in addition to that, too, it's taxes, right? We've heard some misinformation out there recently about taxes on Social Security. Folks thinking that their Social Security isn't going to be taxed. And for most people, that's just not the truth, right?
No, not at all.
Especially in our area, when it comes down to the income that you have to be in our area, to live in the Seattle area, most folks are going to be paying taxes on at least 50%, if not 85% of their Social Security.
Yeah, in fact, most people are going to fall into the 85% category case, simply because $44,000 or more for a couple puts you in the 85%. So I will say this, that 99% of our clients are all going to be in the 85% bucket.
Yep.
I tell you, going over steps just to plan for every aspect of retirement, there's a lot that goes into it, and you both highlighted it. It's so very important to remember everybody's situation is going to be different. The Social Security aspect of it, how you're going to take it, when you're going to take it, that is going to be your situation and how it fits into what you're doing with retirement planning. And again, going over these steps, getting organized, factor in the taxes, understanding Medicare, filing, all the choices, and there are a lot. And then Social Security, filing, and the optimization of your Social Security. And again, it's all part of having that customized plan. So we've got positions on the calendar. They are complimentary. You can meet with Elevated Financial Management. Casey, walk us through what's going to happen.
Well, this is an easy, laid-back conversation to determine what it is that you need in your retirement, right? So we're going to sit down. We'll write out a written financial plan for you, put together by our team of certified financial planners. That's 100% based on a discussion with you and what your retirement needs to look like. We'll talk about getting organized, optimizing Social Security, dealing with taxes in retirement, as well as many other things. So don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Give us a call.
Here's the phone number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. Call that number now. We'll return with more tips on what you need to be doing to get ready for retirement. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. 42 combined years of experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. That's what it's about, folks, having a plan to get you to and through your retirement years. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate and sometimes referee between Mark and Casey. But we always have fun on this show. We talk about some very serious subjects when it comes to just getting ready for your retirement. And right now, we're motoring through these, again, talking about steps to just plan for every aspect of retirement. We've hit getting organized. It sounds easier than it is. You need to make sure you're doing that. Factor in what taxes are going to be, how that's going to impact you as you move to and through retirement, understanding where taxes are headed. Understand Medicare and filing, all the choices. It can get very complicated. Having somebody to walk with you down this path, it just relieves a lot of stress. And then Social Security, we've talked about it. When is the best time to take it? It depends on the individual, but make sure you're planning for that. Make sure you're optimizing your Social Security. So, fellas, I wanted to jump in on the next one, and that is investment planning. This is not something you just do at a whim. I mean, you really need to think this through.
Yeah, we have to be intentional. I think that's really the biggest thing when it comes through investment planning is all too often we see that people are intentional with saving in their accounts.
True.
They're not intentional with how the accounts are invested. And this kind of ties back to what you said earlier about DIY folks and how we talked about that a lot of people are DIY folks, but they didn't really choose to be. It's just because they have to manage their own 401k, right? So this is the same kind of thing. We've seen this multiple times this week where people have come in and they've done a great job of saving, right? I mean, really, they've done a good job of saving, and they've got money spread out in different accounts, 401ks, IRAs. They show us their statements and that kind of thing. And what we really start to realize is there's a lot of overlap, right? We've got different funds, but those funds are all kind of holding the same stocks. And those funds are moving up and down together when the market is ebbing and flowing. They're kind of just matching what the market does. And that really kind of shows us, again, that somebody's done a good job saving, but there's really no plan, right? There's no plan for the investments, and they're not being intentional. There's no strategy. And so we want to determine how we take risk and where that falls in our timeline. So if we have the need for income in the next couple of years, we want to be very conservative with those dollars, right? When we get to 5-10 year time frame, we can be a little bit more risky, and then beyond that, we can be more aggressive in our stance.
Well, and I was just going to say, you mentioned it, you nailed it. I mean, there's so many people out there that are managing their own stuff, and they feel like if they have numerous accounts, they're diversified,
right,
when they are not.
It's funny you mentioned that, Morgan. We just had a conversation with the husband and wife team just before we did our show today with you, and that's exactly what was happening. So again, you've got to, somebody can say, I got 15 different mutual funds. Oh, I'm diversified, like you were just mentioning. But when all of those funds are holding the same stocks or bonds, they go up together and they go down together. We don't want them to be correlated like that. We want some to move up and some to move down, right? So again, we see this all the time where people think they're diversified, and you mentioned it. But when we analyze and do a great report for them, they find out it's exactly the opposite. And they're kind of sitting there like deer with headlights, in their eyes. They can't move. They're like, wow, nobody's ever showed us this before. But it can make a tremendous difference in their success by doing that.
So let's review. Are you organized? All right, that's a great one to start with. How are you going to handle taxes once you get into retirement as you head towards the big day? And it's going to be a big deal. So taxes are going to be impacting you. And then understanding Medicare. If you're approaching 65, you really need to be dialed in here. You got to file. There are a lot of choices. You need to make sure you are making the correct ones for you. Then Social Security, make sure you're optimizing Social Security when you're going to take it. It's not just a number. You really need to work that into your plan. And then think through your investment planning, how you are doing it. Make sure you're diversified. The next one, gentlemen, and that is what you are going to leave. You are not going to be living forever. So how are you going to handle your legacy?
Yeah, and this is really something that gets kicked down the road sometimes way too long. So we have a choice to make, right? Whether we have children or we don't, maybe we're charitably inclined. We want to leave whatever assets are left to our favorite charity or charities. But again, do you have a plan for this? Because if you die without a will or a trust, you're going to die what we call intestate. And the state is going to come up with a plan for you, whether you like it or not, and so it's up to us. Now, we're big believers in trusts here. I've been doing trust work for probably over 30 years now, and I want my clients' assets to not go through probate. That's a big deal in our state. So some might disagree and say, well, a will work fine. Well, a lot of attorneys feel that way, and they're going to be the ones to probate your estate, and they're going to make a lot more money on the back end by probating the estate than what it cost you to set up the trust on the front end. And eliminate the attorneys. A lot of this stuff is in the cloud now. It's really cool how things have evolved over the last 4 or 5 years. So I want our clients' assets to be passed on in the most tax efficient way. We know a lot of Trump's tax plan is sunsetting here the end of next year. And again, if the reduction, if you've got a state tax issue, we know right now if you've got a trust, you can have probably close to $25 million. It won't be affected. But what happens if that's reduced from $12 million each down to $6 million or $5 million, which is the discussion? That's going to bring a lot more people into a big estate tax issue that they never planned on. So again, figuring this out and dealing with somebody that can help can make a huge difference in what you end up keeping. The family legacy can be much greater by doing some planning now and not waiting.
And just how it affects the family too, right? I mean, I think that's something that I think is so important as well, because without a roadmap from the person who's leaving the funds in an already very emotionally turbulent time, right? Yeah. Now the siblings or whoever it is has to figure out, what did mom and dad really want, right?
Right.
And the ultimate, the reality is to that one sibling may view it one way and the other may view it differently. No matter how close those siblings are, when emotions are high, things can cause a problem, right? So at the minimum, it's being loving to the folks that you are leaving things to, making sure that there's clear direction as to how it's handled so that nobody's feelings get hurt and it doesn't cause a rift in the family. And then, expanding on that is like you were talking about, Mark, right? We're making sure that things are efficient tax-wise, that the money that you did work hard for does stay within the family and it passes the best way that it can. And so it's important to look at it from both of those angles.
See, some people believe that they've got a will and they've made beneficiary designation, right? But here's an interesting fact. Beneficiary designation on qualified plans and other type of plans trumps everything. It trumps a will or a trust. So if you have Ed Slott's one of the top advisors in the country when it comes to qualified plans and distributions of those plans, and he tells the funniest story. It wasn't funny to the second wife, because what ended up happening, this individual didn't change the beneficiary designation on his huge retirement plan. And when he passed away, he had left his ex-wife, and they didn't like each other too much, but she ended up getting $2 million that he never would have allowed that to happen. But he never changed the beneficiary designation, even though he had put the new wife in the trust. But it didn't matter at that point because it was never changed on the document that controlled basically his pension. And so, again, you've got to take care of business. And, boy, making sure that you get these things set up and in writing can save a lot of grief. Casey mentioned money gets involved and people change. That's just the reality of this world.
Yeah, I was just going to say, think about all the nightmare situations you've heard about where families really get at each other when it comes to the dollars. When someone passes away, they change. And if you have a legacy, if you have your beneficiaries, as you mentioned, Mark, updated on a regular basis, you can avoid some of the headaches. Maybe not all of the headaches, but certainly a majority of the headaches. So we're down to our final one. And again, just so we can recap, we want to be able to plan for every aspect. So you're getting organized, you're considering your tax situation, Medicare filing and choices, that needs to be on your list. Consider Social Security, make sure you are optimizing that. Also, really think through your investment planning, and we just discussed legacy, having that down and just being aware of your accounts, your beneficiaries, that is going to ease a lot of pain after you're gone. And then the final one, guys, and you talk to your clients about this pretty much every time you sit down. And that's just, the decisions you're going to make, there needs to be a purpose behind those decisions.
Yeah, there really does, right? And I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot when it comes to financial planners and retirement planning is, at the end of the day, I'm a numbers guy, right? There's a reason that I do what I do. I like the numbers. I'm interested in it. But at the end of the day, this is really about people. That's what this boils down to. And so when it comes to your retirement, what do you actually want to do in retirement? And being purposeful, intentional with those decisions, right? So what are your days going to look like? And just playing golf all day is not really an answer to that question, right? What are we going to do? What activities will you have? How will you fill your time? How do you make sure that when you're in retirement, you still have a sense of purpose and a sense of direction, making sure that you're staying healthy and committing time to that. So there's a lot of pieces to this. And it really comes down to a conversation. And hopefully, if you already have an advisor, hopefully your advisor's having that conversation with you, because that is very important. The numbers are one thing, the dollars are one thing, and they are important. But ultimately, those are there just to support what your lifestyle is supposed to be.
We're here to help. We've got positions on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Mark, walk us through exactly what's going to happen if they can grab one of these appointments.
Please, if you're listening, pick up the phone, give us a call. If you've saved $250,000 or more, maybe you've worked at Boeing or Weyerhaeuser and you just need some help. You're sitting here today listening to the show, whether we've talked about wills, taxes, inflation. We didn't really touch on that a lot, but these are all affecting all of us. We need help. We've got a team of certified financial planners that are going to look at your specific situation, and we're going to help you put together a plan that I think you'll be very much benefited by. So taxes, like I mentioned, what about is your income guaranteed for your retirement life? These are all things that we need to have solid, correct answers on so that you end up having the retirement that you always dreamed and hoped it would be. So please pick up the phone and give us a call. Let's have a conversation.
How important is peace of mind? Call the number 866-668-3625. It's your retirement. Take charge right now. 866-668-3625. One more time, 866-668-3625. When we return, navigating the paradox of retirement. What? We'll talk about it when we come back. Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. It's a great resource website, efmnw.com. All letters, efmnw.com. Again, Elevate Your Wealth TV show there for you. Our radio show in podcast form is there for you. They've got 42 years combined experience between these two, and again, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for, yes, the end game, their retirement. They are certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. Again, talking topics. And the next one is we have this article that we stumbled upon. We want to talk about it because we think it's very, very important. But it's called Navigating the Paradox of Retirement. Guys, what drew you to this? Obviously, we want to talk about it. But this is a very important aspect when you think about retirement, people that are headed towards it.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting, Morgan. We were looking at this, and it's just kind of something different than maybe what we'd normally talk about on the show, right? Like I just mentioned, in our previous segment, the finances are very important, right? That's why we do what we do. But at the end of the day, we really do it to help people retire. And so the finances support the retirement dream, not the other way around. And so this was a really interesting article, and what it really highlighted was that folks will move into retirement with the allure of golfing daily and, that kind of thing, and just every day is Saturday, and that's great, right? We want people to have that, but we also need to have a sense of direction because humans are adaptable, and the article doesn't say it quite like this, but I think it's interesting. Because we're adaptable, if we're doing that fun thing that maybe we only used to do on the weekends or every other week, right? We go play golf. Well, now if we're playing golf every day, that's become our new baseline, right? That's our new normal, quote unquote. And now it no longer has the excitement that it used to have, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
And so our days really at that point can start to become monotonous. Even though we're having fun doing that thing, over time, it's become the normal. And now we have to find some other way to find excitement and fulfillment in our lives. And so this article talks about that. And I thought that was really, really interesting and something cool that we could talk about on the show.
You know, it's funny, when we work, we have structure, right? We got structure. We get up, we go to work, we've got a social network inside of our working world, right? And when that goes away, you've got to replace that. And like Casey just mentioned, it isn't all just, oh, I'm going to golf or I'm going to go play bingo, each and every day, even though some people may be doing that. The point is, we've got to replace that, and structure in retirement. I know from our clients' perspective, the ones that have schedules, they keep good calendars, they've got their days set up to do certain things, they just seem to be so much happier than the ones that don't. So we're big believers in helping our clients figure out what their retirement is going to look like. We want to talk about that. We want to have a plan. Where do you want to live? What do you want to do? Is your thing maybe traveling, getting a motorhome and going around the U.S., or maybe more worldwide travel? What about just spending time with our grandbabies, gardening, motorcycle riding? For me, skiing, golfing. There's all kinds of different things that we all want to do, but do you have any kind of a plan that's going to help you get there? I've been thinking about this and wanting to share. We need to unlock the 8-year-old. That's all that we, have inside. And a lot of us, if we could, have that little person that had such a great imagination, right? Are we going to be able to unlock him and let him, if it wasn't about the money, what would you like your retirement to do? And some of us need to think back to when we were a kid, when our imagination could let us, take off and plan some of the things that we want to do.
Well, it certainly needs to be part of the discussion that is creating your overall retirement plan. I think you guys have hit on something. It's almost like we're sold, and I just say this, from our working years all the way to that retirement date. It's like this really cool, pretty brochure on what retirement is, right?
Yep.
And this is retirement. It's like 4 pages. You flip through it in like 2 seconds. Wow, this is exciting. But there's potential for you to be in retirement longer than you actually worked.
Yes.
We're living longer,
Right.
so there needs to be more substance to the brochure.
Right.
You need a short story. You need a book. This needs to be your retirement. You need to take ownership in it.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. And there's a quote. I want to read this from the article. I think it really ties in with what you said, Morgan. It says that staring at wide open days with nothing on your calendar can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
On the other hand, being busier than ever but feeling empty at the end of the day isn't a lot better. After a while, feeling like you haven't accomplished anything that you consider to be worthwhile becomes debilitating, right? So, this is maybe kind of the inverse of the statement of activity begets activity, right? That activity keeps us going. And even though sometimes maybe we feel busier than we want to be, that's not good, so we got to dial it back. But if we don't do anything, that leads us to not doing anything, right? We have to have something that's driving us through the day. It's a balance, right? It's a balance. And so without that balance, that's really how we start to feel that disappointment in retirement, right? And the reality is this, when you think about retirement, why do you go to work in the first place, right? You go to work to support your current lifestyle, but there's always, as you mentioned, this brochure, this dream that's been sold to us that one day you'll no longer have to work and you're going to do all the things you want to do. Yeah. So there's high expectations. There are very high expectations. Yeah. Whether we have consciously had that conversation with ourselves or not, I think we all put retirement on this pedestal. And if we don't have a real plan, not only for the dollars, but what we're going to do in retirement, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Guys, you've hit a home run here. I think it's so important because you're in retirement. You have all this time, and you can say yes to everything. Mm-hmm. You have to almost learn how to say no.
Yeah.
you want to keep your sanity. You want to do things. Maybe it's volunteer, but you want to keep your sanity. So work as much as you possibly can and want to, but also have the ability to say, you know what, I don't have time for that. I've got to dial it back a notch or two. I mean, it is your retirement, and I totally get it. I've seen this happen in real time, where it's like all of a sudden they're being asked to be on every committee, do all this,
Right.
and it's like, all of a sudden they are overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I totally think you've hit a home run here.
It's funny because we're talking about this, but there was an interesting study that the American Psychological Association put out, and it basically said this. It said it highlights the paradox of having excessive discretionary time. So discretionary time, just time basically to do whatever we want, right? But because we have that extra time, it's also been linked to lower subjective well-being due to a lack of productivity. So again, we need to stay busy. People that stay busy, have hobbies, volunteer, have a plan, are doing so much better in retirement than those that just saw that shiny brochure, they got to retirement, but then it's like you said, after a week, it's not so shiny anymore, right? It's like the first date. You go on a couple of first dates with our new maybe prospective person we want to fall in love with, and then all of a sudden it's not so shiny as a week or two goes by, right? And we don't want that to happen in retirement, because that can be devastating.
Yeah, it really can. And that, I think that really comes down to time management, right? Is like you said, Morgan, we have the time to do all the things we want to do. We have all the times to do the things out there, whatever those things are. But how do we do the right things, right? That's the key. How do we do the things that are not only what we want to do, but retirement isn't just play all day. You still have to take care of yourself physically and mentally, emotionally, right? So there has to be still some level of work associated with retirement to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, having a rhythm of some kind, so that your days and your weeks don't just kind of all run together, right? That's really going to increase that sense of well-being.
Well, and it gives you meaning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gives your retirement meaning. There's a foundation there for you. Listen, we get it. There are a lot of you out there that are struggling with this. An opportunity to have this as part of your retirement plan, to talk about the paradox and how you're going to handle what is coming. And you want to be able to enjoy your retirement, but it's not always the golf membership or the travel, because that brochure is going to weather, and it's not going to be, as Mark said, as shiny as you get into retirement. Enjoy it, but also have a plan. Now, the opportunity to get on the calendar with Mark, Casey, the team at Elevated Financial Management, it's ongoing during the course of this show. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call now, claim one of the appointments. They're complimentary, 866-668-3625. That means leave the checkbook at home, 866-668-3625. So diving back in, again, navigating the paradox of retirement. I mean, these are things that a lot of us aren't really thinking about. I mean, being overwhelmed with so much time, not having, time management skills in retirement. How important is it to kind of design your routine? Now, the routine can change, guys.
Yeah.
But design a routine and kind of get started that way.
Yeah, I really thought this was such a good point, that we need to be willing to come up with a plan. We need to design exactly what we want to do, okay? And that means we need to take stock of what we're spending our time on now. I thought that was such a good point. And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, most of us don't do a very good job of estimating where the time goes in our day. How did that day go by? What did I do? Well, it's time. I love this point. We should be dividing and doing this worksheet divided into 4 parts: morning, afternoon, evening, and night. But then you got to monitor what's going in each section. In fact, it even made the importance of figuring out how much time are you sleeping. Maybe we're going to change the routine because we don't have to get up as early now as we used to, right? So again, are you designing a plan that's going to help to make you successful? I think that's the point.
I tell you, and the plan, working with, a team that's going to be there with you, give you confidence. You're able to lean in. Casey, we've got appointments. They are complimentary. They're leaving the checkbook at home. Walk us through what's going to happen if they can grab one.
Well, this is for folks that don't want to leave it to chance. This is for folks that want to plan for retirement, that want to understand how to make their dollars fit their lifestyle instead of making their lifestyle fit their dollars. And so we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation with you. How do we structure the investments in the right way to support what you want to do in retirement? How do you make sure that you're going to be fulfilled when it comes to your retirement? How are you going to mitigate taxes and make sure that your income is secure? So we'll talk about all those things. It'll be a written financial plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Give us a call.
Folks, here's the number. Call it now, 866-668-3625. Again, 866-668-3625. This is about your retirement. You can take charge right now. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call the number now. Grab an appointment, 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth is in the books. For Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins, I'm Morgan Patrick. We'll see you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.